there is a disconnect between the knowledge base of knowing how to do something versus the experience of actually doing something all the time, you know? And the problem is, if you don't get the education on the product that you're working with specifically, okay? Like Bernard was mentioning earlier, you know, he likes to try to get into something before he gets formally trained. John, I know you're really big on the instructions. Before you touch anything, you want to read the instructions. You even want to go so far as to see the MSDS sheets on some of these ingredients sometimes,
100%.
You know, to wrap your mind around what's going on. Sometimes you get like, you know, I want to see the product, touch and feel the product. I don't necessarily want to start doing it straight away, but I definitely want to play with it. I definitely want to try to pull it apart and deconstruct it, you know, and see what it's made out of before I get formally trained on it. So we each have our own approach to it, right? And
Yep.
some of the reasons is, and this is the comment which I love, you know, this is the things that should be going through your head. Is my client a candidate for hair extensions? If she is, which type? How much hair? How am I going to color match this? Where am I going to place this? Am I going to cut this? Am I going to blend this? How's it going to be styled? How's it going to be maintained? There is this, like you were mentioning, John, this mental checklist that pre-exists in our minds.
Right.
Okay. Now, the phone call I hate getting the most is, I have been doing this service. I have been doing hair extensions for X amount of time, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever.
So of course I'm an expert.
So I know there's nothing you're going to show me that I don't already know.
Right.
Or I have been trained in X amount of different systems, 4 systems, 5 systems. You know, there's no difference. They're all the same. Then why are you coming to me? I'm sitting here minding my business.
Right. But we got marketing out there. So there's,
you know, like, why am I on the phone right now having to talk to you about this? Then why do I have to justify my insanity to your insanity and see if they match up?
That's a good point.
You know, then what's wrong with the first 5 things that you were doing? Technology improves and changes and evolves all the time. Okay. And no matter how much you know, there is a limitation and a disconnect to being able to apply what you technically know to creating it artistically. And then if you have a brand new product that you are just not familiar with yet, there is a learning curve involved. I don't care how good or how bad you are, there is still a learning curve involved.
Right.
And that's where your disconnect was.
I was telling RJ the same thing this morning. He was talking about the difference in not having official training and having training, and talking about the difference. And I said, and then there's still, even after the official training, you're not done.
You're not.
Because that is one of the things I enjoy the most about being really old. I've been doing hair for 34 years now. And the experiences you can't take away from me. That was one of the things, that same girl God, I hate long texts. I don't even want to read them. And in the long text where she's trying to tell me, first of all, as a client, not even a stylist, how she knows as you know as well as I do. I hate it when they say that. I'm like, don't put me in your world yet. We don't even know. I've never even seen her in person yet. And she's already thinking that she thinks like me. You know as well as I do, keratin bonds are damaging over time. So my hair's gotten thin. And I'm thinking, no. And then she said, and don't worry, my stylist. And listen, you guys might do this and agree with it because most do. But I'm going to tell you, I don't. So she says, and don't worry, because my stylist cuts all of the keratin bonds in half. So because I have very fine, thin hair. So these smaller bonds are much healthier for my thin, fine, fragile hair. I'm like, no, because I've been doing this for so long.
Fired up, man.
He's lost it.
I've had some super fine, thin haired clients that I did for many years. I tried different ways. I've tried cutting the keratin bond shorter this way, so short till it didn't stay in the hair one time. And I had to rebuy all their hair, redo their hair. Expensive mistake. I've cut the bonds in half and thirds and fourths. And the ones that stay on fine, thin hair the most are full bonds. Sure, you cut them down a little shorter so they're a little smaller when you roll them or fold them. But those stay in fine, thin hair the longest. And I think I know why, but nobody does that. Most people think smaller. And I get the smaller because you have less hair on top to hide the bond. So you think smaller will disappear in the hair a little bit more. But maybe some of those in some areas for camouflage. But the ones that stay in the hair the longest, because I'll put them both on the same head and I watch it happen, are the full head, the full bonds. And the reason is fine, thin-haired people usually go through the shedding process faster. So when you're taking a section and split it in half, the percentage or ratio of amount of hairs that are falling out in this section are less. So you take this smaller section and now you have even less hairs. So you have to take the extensions out sooner and redo them if you're going to keep healthy hair. And that's probably also what's not happening, that never happened in the conversation. She's not talking about how long she's trying to wear these keratin bonds to get her money's worth and get her damages worth, because that's where she's getting the damage.
Yeah, that's where she's at with the damage.
And a lot of the problem is coming from the removal. Most stylists don't remove keratin bonds well or take their time and do it correctly because it's a long process. That's probably the least fun thing about K-tips, keratin bonds, or whatever you want to call them, is the removal process. So most people rush it, use harsh chemicals and a lot of quick combing and some rough pliers to chew up that bond, and they're destroying and damaging the hair depending on the tool they're using. Right. So with all of that said, you can't teach that in a class. And that's saying, oh, take a class and you'll know how to do extensions. You'll be way better off than somebody that didn't take a class, but then still you got to join my Facebook group where me and Eddie answer questions all the time for people having challenges and problems.